Hello everyone. The topic is about CAR T cell therapy. So it's been a very important topic, and you can see this topic even either prelims or maybe even for mains also as part of science and technology. So we will see about this cell therapy, which is a very important. Before that, let's understand the very basics about the cells that our human body, right? So our human body is nothing but completely of cell, and within cell we have nucleus. Within nucleus we have chromosome, 23 set of chromosomes, and within chromosomes we have DNA, right? So this is the structure of cell, right? So the main two important cell in our human body is about red blood cells as well as white blood cells. So these are the two important cells. The role of RBC, the red blood cells, is to supply oxygen to the human body parts through the blood, and white blood cells is to fight against any foreign bodies that enter into our human body, right? So these are the two differences. And there are different sets or different types of white blood cells. You can see here. This is also very important. They may ask you in the matching or maybe features of T cells specifically. So these are the five types of T cells, which are five types of white blood cells, which are very, very important. Here, first, if you observe here, lymphocytes, these are called as again T cells, lymphocytes or T cells, any of this thing are same. So the main role of these lymphocytes or T cells is to fight against the infections, to fight against the infections by producing the antibodies, right? So in our human body, we have certain, structure or certain mechanism. If any of the foreign elements enter into body, immediately it will be recognized and antibodies are produced. So foreign bodies or foreign elements are nothing but antigens. They are also called as antigens, right? And antibodies are the ones which are produced by our T cells to fight against the antigens, right? So understand the difference between antibodies and antigens. Fine. Now, the T cells, as we call lymphocytes, the main role is to fight the infections by producing antibodies. So these are called as the T cells, right? And we have few more white blood cells, that is neutrophils, which are the first to respond to bacteria or virus. If some bacteria or virus enter into our body, the recognition of the first response is done by the neutrophils. However, they don't have capacity to fight against them. Rather, the role is to recognize them, right? And then we have one more specific white blood cells, which are called as eosinophils. They are known to recognize the role in allergy symptoms. So any of the symptoms or any of the foreign body enters, then it immediately develops the symptoms or allergy type of thing in our human body. So those are called as eosinophils. They are part of as well white blood cells, right? And then basophils, we have one more type which is known for their role in asthma. So immediately they generate certain types of symptoms which says that there is a asthma in the human body, right? And then finally monocytes, after the T cells releasing antibodies and destructing the antigens enter into our body, these monocytes clean up all the dead cells and make our human body clean, right, without any effect. So these are the different types of white blood cells, and here specifically we are talking about the T cells that are lymphocytes, which are producing antibodies to fight against the antigens, right? Now let's discuss few more things before go entering into the CAR T cell therapy. The T cell, as we have seen, this is part of white blood cells and to protect by generating antibodies. Yes, we have already discussed. And this main T cell here we are discussing is that they identify I mean, in case of cancer, the CAR T cell therapy is to cure the cancer, to fight against the cancers. So this helps in protecting the CAR T cell therapy, helps in fighting against the cancer, right? So in the case of this T cell therapy or CAR T cell therapy, rather than generically attacking the antigens, T cells circulate until they encounter the specific antigen, right? So this does not directly fight against the antigens. Rather, they first circulate in our human body completely to attack the specific antigen, whichever is required for the cure of cancer, right? So this is the mechanism. Now let's understand the details about the uh, the yes. about the CAR T cell therapy. Yes, one more important thing here is there are two main T cells which in our human body. So cytotoxic T cells as well as helper T cells, right? So cytotoxic T cells does not directly I mean the helper T cells are the ones which send signals which does not directly attack, rather they helps in generating the signals to fight against the antigens, right? So cytotoxic T cells are the one actually destroys the infected cells and remove from our human body. So this is also one important difference or two types of T cells you can remember. Now comes the actual thing that we were discussing, the CAR T cell therapy, how it works to cure the cancer. Usually in the what you call chemotherapy that we have at present to cure the cancer, we need lot of blood transfusion, and then we need medication. So there are different process, and is also not very efficient in the later stages of the cancer. So here the new invention is about the CAR T cell therapy. So here, let's understand the process. If you understand the process, it is very easy for you to know about the mechanism, right? So this healthcare providers collect the blood in the first stage, right? So the blood is collected from the person who is suffering from the cancer, right? Once the blood is collected, now what they will do, they will differentiate or they will separate this T cells from the that particular blood, right? So obviously the blood consists of WBC and then RBC, and within WBC we have T cells. So T cells are separated and the blood is sent back to the body, right? Now we got the T cells, fine. Now these T cells are genetically altered. They are genetical using genetical editing technology. So here we are adding a protein, chimeric antigen receptor. So CAR, this is the full form of CAR, chimeric antigen receptor. These are nothing but the proteins which are added to the T cells, right? So genetically modified, and this protein are added to the T cells, right? Now millions of CAR T cells are grown in the laboratory, right? Whatever the mechanisms that we have, we have collected T cells, and then we have added chimeric antigen receptor proteins, and then we are multiplying it. The million CAR T cells are grown in the laboratory, and then these CAR T cells, earlier they are called as T cells. Now we have added the CAR protein, they become the CAR T cells, right? And then these are sent back to the person who is affected by the cancer, right? So chemotherapy is given before CAR T cell. So this is also one more condition, the proper medication or some blood transfusion, whatever is required in the chemotherapy. We do actually the chemotherapy, and then CAR T cells are transferred. New CAR T cells are introduced in the bloodstream, right? After adding this protein. Now, as this protein has the capacity to kill the dead cells or the cells which are not required for our human body, those cells are all destroyed and the cancer is cured. So cancer is nothing but uncontrolled growth of cells, and this protein chimeric antigen is killing directly those uncontrolled developed the cells. So those cells are destroyed and the normal condition is restored. So now the person is cured with the cancer, right? So this is the mechanism. The most important that you need to remember is the mechanism, like this protein called chimeric antigen receptors, fine. So we have seen the blood, different types of cells, RBC and WBC in our body. And RBC is nothing but the one which works to transfer oxygen to different parts of the body. And WBC has, we have different types of cells, and within that we have T cells. Within T cells, we have two parts, two classification, cytotoxic T cells, which directly destroy, and helper T cells, which are send signals to the, this cells to fight against the infection, right? And the mechanism we have seen, by collecting the blood, and then T cells are separated and T cells are added with the chimeric antigen receptor proteins, and then we generate them in a multiple way. And before that, the chemotherapy is also performed, and finally these CAR T cells are introduced into the bloodstream, which can destroy the unwanted cells in our body, and it is restored, right? So this is about the CAR T cell therapy, which is a very important. Thank you.